Welcome to Album Anatomy. In this episode, I will take you through an album by Meshuggah called Destroy, Erase, Improve. That was released in 1995. The two audio discs that I will be looking at in this episode is the 2001 reissue from Nuclear Blast America. This is somewhat a special reissue because the pressing plant that pressed this version is no longer in operation. The plant that pressed this was the Sony CD manufacturing plant in Kidman, South Jersey. Here you can see a satellite image of the plant in 2002, a car park full of cars. 2010, the same thing. On the 31st of March 2011, the plant closed. Here is a satellite image on October 2011. Empty car park. And then 2016 and 2017 and so on. How do we know this is where this version was pressed? Well, here is the Mastering SID code guide with other relevant information. These match the information on these two discs, which I will go in depth with you. I will show you some of the distinguishing characteristics regarding this release and what to look out for when looking to add this piece of music to your collection. Now let's take a closer look at this release. I will first go through the booklet and identify spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, and typing errors that I notice. These, however, may be how the artist intended them to be, so by no way is this section meant to be disparaging. In fact, the opposite. This is to identify the individual characteristics of this album and/or release. Here I will compare the two discs. I will refer to them as Disc A and Disc B. Looking at the booklet or insert, here is the front/back. Turning the page, we have 4 songs from this album and their respective lyrics. I will go song by song from left to right and address each song individually. All of these so-called mistakes will come up all at once and are exactly the same for both Disc A and Disc B because they're the same version. First up, asleep should be asleep without a space, but perhaps they were talking about a sleep. Next, run in this context was probably meant to be run. Next, music by, and so it should be lyrics by, but the missing S is widespread throughout. The next song beneath also has the same lyric, missing S. Next song, soul burn, same deal with the missing S in lyric, but this time an extra space as indicated by the red line. Up next, transfixion, the same deal with the missing S, but now also a missing colon. Now over the page, the next song we have is Vanished. Here we have the word baptized. Perhaps it was meant to be baptized. Same again, missing S in lyrics. Next song, Acrid Placidity. No lyrics here, so moving on. Then inside what's within behind, same deal with the S in lyrics and extra space as indicated by the red line. Now we have the song Terminal Illusions. The word self-destructive has a space between self and destructive. Then followed we have the good old missing S in lyrics. Over the page we have Suffering Truth, missing S in lyrics. And now, last song on this release is Sublevels. The phrase and everything flow is seen. Perhaps it was meant to be and everything flows or and everything flow. Then the same missing in lyrics. The last page has some more information about this album and references various bits of information in which we have the first having an extra space in a rhythm guitar as indicated by the red line. Then we have a reference to Stefan Gilblad. Here is what he had to say at the start of August 2025 on social media. 30 years ago I made this cover. Little did I know then that it would become the most famous graphic assignment I would do during my life as a graphic designer. Meshuggah lived in Umeå, my hometown at the time, and Tomas Haake lived next door to me, so the world was small and simple. It was in an early version of Photoshop. A lot of layers in that file. Meshuggah came with pictures and ideas and I made them come true. I think the front is about 8 different pictures. And finally, here is a reference to American Psycho as one of Meshuggah's sources of inspiration.
You know the movie Hitchcock, right?
Yes.
Not Hitchcock, Psycho. There's this scene, the classic Yeah, the knife kind of thing.
Now looking at the back insert, the spine of disc A has a different color to it. Perhaps that's due to UV affecting it due to storage. Here I did a barcode lookup and it shows that this product is from 2002. Discogs show 2001 and so does the music copyright on the back of the insert. Here are both of the discs side by side and what you would see if you flip them over. Here is a close-up of the relevant numbers on the hub that have been mirrored for the ease of legibility. Here is the back insert of disc A. Some of the text is visible from the other side as the back insert is not using thick paper. And here is disc B, same deal here. Disc A with a ruler for the help of understanding size. Same here for disc B. Here are both of the booklets and their respective measurements. The staples have different spacing with these two booklets. More measurements from disc A and disc B. Now on to the disc matrix numbers. Here is disc A. On the left we have the original, as seen by the viewer. On the right are mirrored versions for the ease of legibility. And here is disc B. Here is a side by side. We can see that the mold SID numbers are different, even though this is the same version. There are other mold SID versions, of which I intend to cover once I acquire them. Here we can see that this version, which was pressed in the same plant, has a unique feature. When looked at under a light in a particular way, we can see concentric circles throughout. Let's look at some other features more closely. Here are both discs side by side. Here they are stacked with the ruler for measurement purposes. And here is a close-up of the two discs. Disc A has more of a glossy print on the print side of the disc, as opposed to disc B, which seems a little more dull and more matte. Not by a lot, but it is subtle. And here we can see the angle of the dot matrix style printing, which is indicated by the yellow lines. Both angles seem identical. Moving on to the CD case itself. Standard case with black tray for both discs. Here are the areas of interest for identification purposes for disc A. On the lid we have H1-1. On the underside of the black tray we have what reads as EC3D. Then on the clear underside of the tray we have H1-5. Here are the details for the case for disc B as indicated by the red. On the lid we have N9. On the underside of the black tray we have patents pending, TM009B. Next to that is the CDDA logo. Same at the bottom left of the black tray. Then on the clear underside of the tray it reads S002B. Once again, I'm not sure if these were the original cases these discs came in, but as more information comes in, we will be able to determine this in due course. And finally, time to have a look at some numbers and waveforms. I compare two of the discs in this 2001 version to two other versions released in 1995, one being a German version, the other Japanese. The song that I will compare across these four discs is Soul Burn, which is track 3 on all 4 discs. And here are the results. The 1995 German version seems to be slightly louder, but the Japanese version of this track seems to be slightly larger than the rest. Perhaps because this Japanese version has been remastered in the 1995 version. The waveforms look as they should. Here's a comparison of the size of both disc A and disc B. Both seem to be identical. And finally, here is a byte by byte comparison of both these discs in this 2001 version. 100% identical. That is it for now. Thank you for your time. More to follow.